North Base Construction, great service from the ground up. Roofing, storm damage, and siding. Call the pros at North Base. Our hands-on approach, advice and consulting. Our attention to detail makes the difference. Visit online at northbaseconstruction.com. North Base Construction, great service from the ground up.
What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the North Face Construction Relegation Fantasy Football Podcast.
Wow,
I'm your host, Jack Yeager.
that started off a little different, and then it ended like, do you guys remember the co-host or like the color commentator on Backyard Sports?
No.
Backyard
the little
Football
the
or
guy.
whatever.
Yeah, I wasn't privileged like you guys. I didn't have backyard sports growing up.
Oh, did Eli not invite you to sleepovers? Because that's all we ever played at Eli's house.
Yeah, your privilege is the only reason you were invited, all right? And even when I did go, I could only watch it. I never got to play.
That's fair. That's very
kind of sad.
Watching Eli play video games, some of the best moments of my childhood, let me tell you guys.
Wow.
I remember it fondly.
Sounds terrible.
Thanks, Connor. But I still hate you, all right?
Oh, we haven't even introduced... Jack, finish introducing who all's here.
I'm your host, Jack Yeager, alongside Luke Yeager and Andrew Peterson. We also have Mr. Champion himself, Mr. Connor Peterson, a.k.a. Unicorn Fought. How's it going, Con?
Freeze for you guys?
Yeah,
I thought it might be.
I wasn't sure.
It's very appropriate that he froze when he was announcing Connor, so that the whole league didn't have to hear him be announced as league champion. All right.
Yeah.
Didn't happen.
Connor Peterson, league champion. Here I am in the flesh.
Not announced.
Go
by Jack.
die. Oh my gosh.
And I said, a.k.a. Unicorn Fought.
That's
where I wrapped up.
The Fots finished first.
Yeah, the first. Those Fots. Never liked them. Congrats, Con. That's pretty impressive. Out of 16 teams, you took all the glory.
Feels good, man. It does. This is one of the huge.
I was gonna say, with the Jamar Chase punch thrown in there, you still overcame that. All right.
I was freaking out when that happened. I was like, no way, Jamar. Like, what are you doing? Like, the fantasy gods maybe aren't on my side if Jamar gets literally thrown out of the game. I think it was like the first or second quarter, too.
Oh.
So Jamar didn't really do much for me down the stretch. So it didn't end up, even if he did get thrown out, I think I still would have won, which is nice. But it would have been more of a sweat going into the Vikings game, that's for sure.
Yeah, and everybody in the group chat was pretty much against you.
I don't pretty much. I think that they were against
100%.
Yeah, there was,
be definitive about this.
Well, there was only like 4 or 5 dislikes on like all of my messages and stuff. So I think there was like some silent dislikers out there in the league somewhere, or at least that's what I told myself to just make to make that chip on my shoulder that much bigger. So
I wasn't gonna dislike anything. There's no way I was gonna fuel it with that.
Yep. And he was all over it. I mean, the minute I sent something, it was like, beep. Andy Peterson dislike.
I couldn't help myself. All right, I should have been factoring the greater good into this, but I let petty text messages influence the outcome. So,
Andrew, this is on you. This one's on you. The league lost
totally
because of your desire.
Gets relegated and gets blamed for the championship. All right, I don't know how that works, but
I think the silver lining was that once Connor kind of saw light at the end of the tunnel, that was the most active Andy's been in the group chat all season.
Oh, for sure, actually. Yes, 100%. I never reply to my text, but I can dislike Connor's messages. All right.
Yep. Absolutely.
That's so funny. Let's get into some podcast updates. So now that it is the off season, we will be going down to one show a week, and it will be released on Thursdays for now. That's kind of our floating day, but we're planning on releasing on Thursdays. Any input? Should I keep going?
Oh, well, I thought you were going
I'll
to
be
read.
tuning in Thursday.
I'm so used to
Nice
somebody
segue.
jumping in.
well, I kind of figured you'd finish by talking about some of the stuff that'll be on the upcoming podcast. You know,
Well, usually I'd say,
You know, as your job as host, you're supposed to kind of like look at the show doc and stuff, but whatever, it's fine.
okay, usually in the past, I'd say, now that it's the off season, Andy would jump in and go, I have something to say.
That's exactly what I do, Jack. All right. I've totally interjected and not been cut off at all this season. All right. Very dominant personality.
All right,
That's
we are
true.
going to have an award show. We're also going to have a keep cut speculations, rookie previews, dynasty mock draft shows, and much, much more. We got a ton in store for this
Well,
offseason.
Jack, what do you
So make
think
sure
that
to-
much more involves?
You have to tune in to
There's
find
just so much. I don't want to give anything away.
Probably interviewing
Hold
past
back, all right?
champions, I would assume.
Probably. Probably.
Throwback to
We're just
every
gonna have
single.
Connor on we'll just have Connor on every single week for this offseason. Still feel good? Yeah, feels good. Feels good.
Feeling great.
Well, I feel like we could punish Connor for the championship by forcing him to come on here once a week. I mean, that seems appropriate, right?
I
I
mean,
get to talk
yeah,
about the championship. I get to talk about me being champion every single week. Like that's.
And by the
That
end, though,
sounds-
I think you will. I think that will break you. I don't know. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
I'm not sure if I can
Challenge,
commit to that.
challenge accepted.
Yeah, I was gonna say
We only
that gives Connor too much power. I feel like I don't love that. He'd slowly be moving up. He'd be moving up chairs. I've already been relegated
Yeah,
to the
pretty
fourth or to the third chair. He'd pass me.
Started off as
I'd get
maybe
kicked out.
co-host. Now you're by far the third wheel on this podcast, right, Luke?
I know. That's why I'm not willing.
We actually brought Connor on to replace you. This is just
Oh
a way
my
of breaking
God.
news, all right?
Luke's threatens.
This is one of those.
Andy's
This
pissed.
is one of those situations where we're having Luke train in the person that's going to take his spot.
No. We're
No,
actually on. Just just we'll pay you. All right. Just
We're just changing your role outside
Yes.
of the company.
Yeah, you're gonna be on fourth mic. We might not have it live. The camera won't be on you, but you'll be there.
those who can't do teach Luke. All right.
Like
Mhm.
they actually move the relegation concept to the podcast too. So like every year's champion replaces one of you guys that takes like the worst.
That's a great way to disincentivize.
That would be
fans,
actually
all
so funny.
That would be
That would be
hilarious.
funny.
Well, I
You
guess
guys
I'm
are
out.
fighting for your lives.
right? Wait, who do you
Maybe
think would be
Andy
the
would, but-
worst podcaster amongst our league?
Eli.
It's,
Or Ian.
I thought you were gonna say out of us. I was gonna say it's definitely me. I definitely would be the one relegated out of the
I
whole
don't think
league.
so.
I think so. I think
you
it
could,
probably.
I mean, you could probably switch off, all right?
Yeah, I guess it depends on the day. The days you're gone,
I think
I definitely have you beat. The days you're
true.
Yeah, the days I'm not on, you're terrible. But no, it's fine.
I know.
Luke,
I
I
would
think
say
you
either of us
beat
can
out AP
carry
on
it.
his off days.
What's up, Jack?
I think Luke beats you out on your off days, but when you're getting all spicy and you're really in
Yeah.
it, I think maybe you can take the edge. I think you
For
guys
sure.
are.
Luke's a safer
Head to
bet.
head.
I'm high risk, high reward, baby. All right.
You're the Gabe Davis of this.
You're
podcast.
boomer bust. Yeah, you're Gabe Davis.
I'm either like 30
Yeah.
points or I goose. All right.
Exactly.
Yo, every team needs a Gabe Davis. Let me just say that.
Luke's the Adam
True.
Thielen of this podcast. No. Who's more? I'm trying to think. Luke's the Jamison Crowder of this podcast.
Oh no, he's not good enough anymore.
Back in the day, though, he was a solid. Connor had him once when he was the top 12 wide receiver.
I'll be Crowder in his
I don't
prime.
remember that, but
Well, the only reason I remember that, Connor, is because I dropped him. You picked him up, and I remember looking at the end of the season thinking, how is he a top 12 wide receiver? And he was.
isn't it? Yeah, that is kind of crazy when you go back and look at the end of the year and you see who ended up finishing top 12 or top 24, and you're just kind of like, that name just doesn't register as a top 12 guy. It happens all the time, though.
For sure. It's one thing I don't love about Yahoo is that I still don't know how to go in and look at. I can only see the overall rankings when I go in. I can only see and so it's all quarterbacks at the top. So I can't go in and when you click on a guy, it doesn't just show, oh, he's the RB7 on the season. It shows he's
True.
like the 23rd.
58th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. It's terrible. That's annoying.
Their filtering system for projections and stats and stuff is kind of annoying. I had to deal with that throughout the season.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But you know what? I do think Yahoo makes the best players better because it's not as easy to just find like.
You're probably right there, Luke. You have to do some digging, actually.
Yeah, you do.
Mhm.
You gotta know a little bit more. So I kind of like that element. But as far as like looking at stuff, I don't like that I can't see that I had nobody in the top 24 at their position. I want to be able to know that my team sucks. You know, now I'm just guessing.
I can tell you. I think we all know your team sucks. Luke, right?
We had plenty of discussions about it during the year.
That's true.
I did like Yahoo overall, though.
Me
This is my
too.
first year playing on it.
Mhm.
I actually really enjoyed it. I think it was better than Sleeper and ESPN.
I like
Agreed.
At least
ESPN's
personally.
interface better, but I'd agree with you that Sleeper.
Really?
Well, it's just more simple. Like it's easier to navigate. I think Sleeper. I agree, though. I think is disappointing. Like in our one,
Yep.
how many years were we on Sleeper? 2 years?
2.
1 year?
One or
I just
two.
felt like if
I
it
think it was
had
only
just
one.
been like
Oh,
boring,
it might have been.
would have been so much better. But I just hated the color scheme every time I logged in. Gave me
I do too.
freaking,
Yeah.
gave me
I
epilepsy.
agree. I loved the customizability. Is that the word? The I don't know.
Customizability. Yes.
We all know what I'm
Customization
talking about.
ability.
I liked what you could do with it, the different little nuances you could throw in. You're not able to customize the league as much in ESPN or Yahoo. And I like ESPN's look better, but there were things I love about Yahoo. Like, I think next year we'll do better with the League Pick'em Challenge where we'll make sure that there's something incentivizing it and everybody will be involved. But it's actually kind of fun to go through and pick each matchup and to track all that. I like little things like that.
Are you saying that because
sure.
you won this year?
I mean, maybe. Some say it's the most important championship on the year.
Some say. Some means at least one.
Most.
Yeah.
Most would say that.
I don't think I did it since week 1.
I only did it the weeks I was on the podcast.
Exactly. It pretty much came down to me and Jack fighting for 1 and 2, and then Kopka and Ross were fighting for 3rd and 4th. I think they both did it.
Yep.
Almost every week.
I think next year we should do
Mhm.
a what are those things the league's called where you like an eliminator challenge or the where you pick
Survivor pool.
There we go. Yeah. I think that'd be fun to do next year too.
Those are fun.
I love a survivor pool.
We should
That
also
is
maybe
super fun.
put some money onto either the pick'em or the survivor pool to make it just like a little more incentive to do it.
That's what I was thinking. I think we gotta put something on it.
Had like $20 on or something.
Yeah, my goal also is to try to find a way to get anybody who wants involved. Like right now, we can only do it with league owners, but my goal is next year have anybody who's a listener or you know what I mean. Just anybody can do it. Jump in and maybe they get a shot to win something and keep people invested beyond just our charismatic personalities. You know.
Indubitably.
Yes, quite. All right. On today's show, we have 2 major segments. We have championship round review, and we also have the off-season speculation, which includes a couple different things, and we'll get into that later. But let's talk about that championship round. So
we
our
have to?
matchup, unfortunately, yes, Andrew. Unfortunately, yes. The Unicorn Fight defeated Lake City Longnecks by a score of 124.94 to 113.1. Let's get into the Yahoo full recap.
I figured I'd drop the full recap in this time. We can read it. It's they're pretty great to read through if you haven't read through them before.
Connor, can you read?
All right.
Because you should probably read your own recap, right?
I can read the recap.
Let's hear it.
Oh man.
It's
In a
the
battle
championship
for
honor.
fantasy glory.
Oh, Andrew, please. Can you
Unicorn
restart, Connor?
card
Thanks.
showed. Are we good? Am I good?
Go for it. Start it off.
I can't listen to this dyslexic person read. All right, it's hard to listen.
Look, I might stumble over some words. I don't read a lot, so in a battle for
can't read, but he can play fantasy football.
Holy shit, Andy, shut up. In a battle for fantasy glory, Unicorn Fart showed absolutely no mercy and crushed Lake City Longnecks with a score of 124.94 to 113.10.
You won by 11 points. That's not no mercy.
You know what? I don't appreciate your interjections. The victory was sealed early on Thursday, leaving Lake City Longnecks with no chance of a comeback. Despite their C grade, Lake City Longnecks put up a decent fight, but it wasn't enough to overcome the dominance of Unicorn Fart. Lake City Longnecks best player Isaiah Pacheco delivered an impressive performance, beating his projection by 13 points and scoring 26 points. Unfortunately, Justin Jefferson couldn't live up to the expectations, falling short of his projection by 8.89 points and only scoring 8. On the other side, Unicorn Fart's star player Lamar Jackson went above and beyond, surpassing his projection by a whopping 23 points and racking up an impressive 46 fantasy points. However, A.J. Brown failed to make an impact, falling short of his projection of 8 points and only scoring 7.3. With this win, Unicorn Fart finishes the season with a stellar record of 22-8, securing the top spot in the standings. Meanwhile, Lake City Longnecks ends their season with a respectable record of 22-8 as well, but falls short of the top spot due to tiebreakers. It's a bitter pill to swallow for Lake City Longnecks, but they can take solace in the fact that they put up a good fight throughout the season. As the season comes to a close, both teams can hang their hats on a successful campaign. Unicorn Fart, with their dominant performance, should be proud of their achievements, which I am, and look forward to celebrating their victory. As for Lake City Longnecks, they should reflect on their season and strategize for next year. It's never too early to start planning for redemption. Congratulations to both teams on a hard-fought season.
Wow.
That's pretty impressive that they have the tools to write, because that's a pretty fun article, actually. Like for being probably AI created.
100% AI.
That's pretty awesome.
Some of the best ones this year were between like relegated teams and their matchups.
Oh my gosh.
I didn't look at those. That's funny.
Oh my gosh. One of them was funny. Like, that 1 week I put up less than 10 points. I lost to someone by who put up 30, and it was like 30 points, dominated the relegated. I don't even know what it was, but it was just great.
Yeah.
Well, I think one time I put up 20 and lost to somebody who put up 74 or something like that, but my team grade was higher because of what my projection was to start the week. Mm-hmm. Despite putting up a team grade of a B, they still lost.
Yeah.
What a shame.
You exceeded expectations, Luke.
Exactly.
You blew out your projection by 4.5 points, and they were like,
think of the
"That's
percentage, though." All right, I mean that's impressive.
It is.
It's like a 25% increase.
I'll take it.
Connor, if you had to summarize this season in one sentence, how would you summarize it?
Oh, man.
Better than Andy.
That's not a sentence. All right.
One word.
I was better than Andy.
There we go. That's sentencing.
You're testing my vocabulary here, which isn't good. I told you I don't read a lot, Andy.
Well, I can tell after listening to that, but continue.
I thought it was
I'd give it a 6 out of 10 at best. All right, just like his season, he lucked.
It wasn't. I don't have a single word for it. It was just up and down. My emotions. I started the year so good, and I thought that my draft was pretty good and put myself in a good spot, and then I came out of the gates flying. But then, there were some injuries, and I think you even said it, Andy, on the podcast a couple times. You said how up and down my team was. So I was like, it looked great on paper a lot. And then I would look at it some weeks and just be like, man, I am not confident in this at all. Even despite the fact that I have a way higher projection than the other team and I should blow them out. But yeah, there was some, especially going into the playoffs, I think I was least confident, as I was at any point throughout the season.
Were you
surprised?
Chase was out when Number Punchers picked you, or were you kind of thinking? Do you think that was the right choice for him to pick you?
Well, yeah, I was just. I think that was the right choice. I think you were the worst. You had the lowest projection on going to the first round of the playoffs, right?
100%. I think I had the lowest projection both both weeks. I think I was projected for like 90 to 93 points both weeks, and all the other championship teams were in the hundreds or close to it. So yeah, I mean, I thought it was going to be turf hoppers, number punchers for sure, and then of course it ends up opposite.
Yeah. That with those projections, Connor, does that make you feel like this championship was a fluke and that you just lucked into it? Or, I mean, just explain that, please.
No, I think I think I made some absolutely ingenious trades and moves down the line that put myself in a position to win. And
in position to win the lowest projection. All right, interesting.
Okay, yeah. But straight up, like when it comes to the playoffs, like in any fantasy playoffs, I hate being number one going into it. It's just a recipe for disaster. Can't tell you how many times I've been number one going into the fantasy playoffs, and then you get bounced in the first round. And you're like, wow, that sucks. It's just like the worst. It's like literally the worst feeling ever. So it's, I mean, and Nate puts up his lowest, I think, score all year in the in that semifinal round.
About like
so
15 points.
It's just how that's just how it goes. I mean, I've played enough fantasy to know that that's just how it ends up going. So, I mean, you just try to make the playoffs, and then at that point, it's a complete crapshoot. Like, you could have a terrible team.
Go ahead, Jack.
It also doesn't help that we had been stirring up that voodoo pot on Nate from like week 9. Like, what if he loses first round and then loses again and takes fourth? We spoke that into existence.
Did he lose? I didn't even check the third place game. Oh yeah, because Turf Hoppers
he lost.
Put up like 160.
Blew him out. 151.
Yeah, that's insane. Thank God I was playing him.
What do you think your best move of the season was?
Let me go and
trading for Lamar.
Lamar really didn't do anything until the last week.
Yeah, but that last week secured the championship.
That my best move. Honestly, I made some moves that probably made my team worse throughout the year.
I would say on a whole, because your biggest trade was with Lumberjacks, and that one definitely was a backfire.
On me too.
I don't know. So I kind of faltered down the stretch, so I don't know what the scenarios would have been if I would have lost one of those like last 4 games, I think. But I know that after I traded for Trevor Lawrence, I needed him pretty bad in one of those. Or was it having Trevor Lawrence and Lamar Jackson ended up coming? It was really handy in one of those weeks. I don't remember which one it was, but I think it was maybe the one where Trevor Lawrence was out, and I would have been totally screwed if I didn't have Lamar Jackson too. So at the time when I traded for both of them in like back-to-back weeks, I was like, oh, that maybe I probably should have planned that out better, but it ended up working out. So I'm not going to be too mad about that. In terms of in-season moves, I don't really think I had anything that was too crazy. I mean, my trades worked out and stuff, kind of, but I think what saved me was drafting Jerome Ford.
Oh my gosh, I know.
I think the draft really carried you. Yeah,
the draft totally carried me.
Which is typically I think a championship is won in season, whether it's through pickups or trades. But I think you really did win this at the draft.
I think this league is going to be more of a draft first league, just because I think usually it's won not in trades. I think trades are usually the least important of. I think it's probably most important is in a typical redraft league. Most important,
which this is a very typical league. So
I think typically it's waivers, draft, trades, and I think here it's going to be draft, trades, waivers.
Mm-hmm.
For me, but I mean, my MO, especially at least in our leagues in the past, has been just wheeling and dealing and making as many deals as I possibly can and just firing out trades like crazy to improve. So, I mean, I did a little bit of that and stuff, but towards the end, I mean, I don't know how many draft dollars I had given up, but I was getting kind of apprehensive because I don't have, if you look at my team, I don't have a ton of guys that are really going to be like values when it comes to, adding them or keeping them next year. So I was worried that I was going to run out of money real quick.
I think that you're underestimating the inflation next year, maybe.
The inflation. What do you mean?
In the keeper draft, Connor? Because so many players, I think, will be kept. Maybe not. We could all be reading this wrong, but I do think there's going to be some inflation in the keeper draft.
You mean players are going to go for more auction dollars than you otherwise would have thought they'd go for?
Correct.
Well, yeah, that's why I'm scared.
Yeah,
but you can also. I'm saying that you could keep some of the guys on your team currently who might not seem like deals right now, but would be like AJ Brown, for example.
That's 100% what I'm going to do. But still, like when you have a bunch of guys on your team, like Devontae, Jamar Chase, and AJ Brown are all like $50 to $60. Yeah, I mean, I keep those three guys, and then it's like, okay, who else? Like, what am I doing? What am I doing elsewhere? So,
Brown, I thought went for like around 40, didn't he?
I got a deal on him. I think it might have been in the 30s, actually.
I thought it was like 30.
It was like 38. That's going to be a steal for sure.
AJ Brown went for 39. So, Connor, where you stand right now is you were 17 in the hole through trades. You gave away 20, received 3, and then your first place finish gave you a bonus of $65. So,
I didn't realize it's that much.
You still can.
Yeah, it's crazy.
You still can only use 180 on keepers. That doesn't change.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So no matter what, you can only use 180 on keepers. However, actually, you can only use, 163 on keepers. The bonus dollars are only used in the veteran draft. So you get 163 in keepers. But if you don't spend anything on keepers, you have $228 going into the veteran draft.
Well, I'm even more happy then that I didn't trade away more auction dollars. It obviously worked out. Hindsight's 2020.
Right.
But
True.
It was that I was in a tough spot there, though. Or I think just a lot of teams were, because we don't know how that next year's draft is going to go. So you don't really know. Like, yeah, you want to sell out and try and win it if you can, or if you have the opportunity to. But those other teams were so good too. It was like, how much more could I really improve my team and, make it better than Nate's or Turf Hoppers? Especially once Kyron came back for Turf Hoppers.
You just got to play like Freebie and throw caution to the wind, boys. All right, trade all of your picks, give as many auction dollars away because it's uncertain. All right, go for it, YOLO.
Would you like to know where Freebie stands?
I thought he gave away 21.
He did. So he's got 159 that he can use on keepers. And then he did finish 5th. His last week was huge. He moved up like 2 spots. Finished 5th. He has $184 that he can use in the veteran draft if he doesn't keep anybody.
He paid. I think he got Amon-Ra for a decent deal, but everyone else I think he paid a premium for.
Amon-Ra he got for 42. He's sitting on Garrett Wilson at 44. I don't know if he'll be worth it if Rodgers is there.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Olave at 44, Bijan at 55.
Shoot.
His team is not his Raheem Mostert for $9. That'll be a keeper for him.
Big, yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, he's got some expensive players if he wants to keep his lineup.
Go ahead, Connor.
Even the Raheem Mostert one though is like kind of iffy with HN and stuff. Like I know they're probably gonna try and do the same thing, but you just don't really know with like a two-headed or even a three-headed backfield. Yeah.
Well, hey, before we start talking about other teams, because we'll do that in some of the off-season speculation here, should we move down to the 3rd place game and talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, 3rd place matchup. The Texas Turf Hoppers defeated the Great North Number Punchers by a score of 151.9 to 95.34.
Pew, pew,
Nate
pew,
at his
pew.
Pew, pew, pew.
Those are pretty good.
That was funny, Andy. Did Nate put up his 2 lowest scores of the season in both rounds of playoffs?
No, he's scored in the 90s a few other times for sure.
What a failure.
But those are 2 of his lower scores though, out of the whatever 20 weeks or the 19 weeks.
17
plus post.
No, 15 plus 2 postseason. There's only 18 in the 17. NFL season anyways. Yeah. True. But there wasn't much he could do. I mean, Austin, the Texas Turf Hoppers literally put up the highest score of the season in the final.
It was the highest score of the season? That's awesome.
His other place.
150.8 was what he had put up previously. So he put up the 2 highest scores this year.
Crazy.
Look at
man.
Look at those running backs: 29 from Kyron, 24 from Najee, and 25 from ETN. I mean, that's just.
I didn't really see that coming
Really-
from Najee, but ETN and Kyron.
Same.
That's I mean, he'll keep Kyron. Yep. Well, I guess. Sorry, I got to keep the speculation. We'll save that.
Sounds good.
Yep.
I mean, you can talk a little bit about it.
No. I'll hold back.
Okay. Sounds good. Yeah, no, he's got players he'll be able to take moving forward, but his team was such a boom bust team this year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he put up some massive weeks. I guess he wasn't.
His booms were crazy.
His floor was actually still pretty good. He just.
Well, I was going to say, I don't know if I agree with that, Luke, because I mean, his floor was good, and the team he drafted, and I know he made a lot of in-season moves, but he kind of drafted that like middle tier of players, it seemed like, as opposed to going for studs and scrubs. And even so, he still, his high scores, he had the 2 highest scores of the year.
He did.
He had the most well-rounded squad for sure.
Oh, wow. Yeah, he did. I guess I was thinking back, like, week 11 is one that kind of stuck in my mind, I think, for him, where he put up only 62.06. I think that was a week where had I played, like, I think this was right around when all the stuff with tanking was starting to go off, and I had a week where I had, like, a bunch of points on my bench, and had I started a lineup, I would have beat him that week. And so I think that one sticks in my head. But then after that, he only had one week below 100. He put up like an 89 or something like that in the first round of the playoffs, I think.
Jeez. That's crazy.
Other than that, he was, oh my God, he was like basically 110 or better from that, other than those 2 weeks. So
Luke,
yeah, he just kind of got a little.
He did your draft strategy. He just executed it like way better.
Yeah. It's very true.
Like way better.
Way better. I think Luke went into that draft thinking that he was gonna draft exactly like the outcome was gonna be exactly what Austin got, and instead you got
probably
the team that took last.
To be honest, I didn't think. So Austin's ceiling was, or what Austin finished at was what I thought the ceiling of a top team or of a well-rounded team could be. I didn't think a well-rounded team would win the championship, but I thought my team when I left the draft would actually probably be more like what Slumlord did this year. I thought I would probably be well-rounded, be able to fight through. I mean, he didn't have any injuries, but basically put up just slightly above median every single week and finish around 6th, 7th, something like that was really what I was kind of thinking with that. Because
were you wrong?
I was wrong. My team did not perform. I mean, it was rough. But you know what? I got out at the right time. I took my losses. Moving forward, I think it set me up for next year to be really good in a league that doesn't matter.
Yeah. All right, let's get into how we think the first full season went. We're all gonna rate on a scale from 1 to 10, but no decimals because decimals are for tryhards. This one hits home a bit.
For those who don't know, that may have been a little jab at Jack's other podcast where he does a rooster review.
Make sure to give a decimal because no decimals is rookie scores. That's my line. That's my line in bird watching. So this is a tough line to say.
I was just seeing if you'd read it like Ron Burgundy or if you'd fall into your typical.
Decimals are for tryhards. I'm Ron Burgundy.
Question mark?
Yeah, all right, let's go around. We'll start with the champion. Champion rank the season or give it a rating from 1 to 10. What are you thinking?
So we're actually not doing decimals? Is that
absolutely
no, you
not.
can. You can. That was you can do whatever.
Okay. I'm gonna give it an 8.1. The only reason it's not in the 9s is because anybody in the league probably knows my opinion on the tanking stuff and how much under my skin that got. So that was the only like damper on it. This was at like the past few years, actually, I had kind of like lost my love for season-long fantasy in a way where it was like I still played in leagues, but I was just not as into it. I was doing more of the daily stuff and just focusing on that. But this league totally kind of brought me back to and gave me that same like kind of re-energized me for season long. So it was fun to follow. The podcast was a big part of that. So yeah, I'll give it, I think I said 8.1. Yeah. 8.1 out of 10.
So this podcast rescued your fantasy life. Is that what I'm hearing, Connor?
Well, my season long fantasy life, I suppose. Not obviously.
Try not to let it go to our heads. I mean, just saying, we're basically doctors, so
basically doctors.
No, it was Luke. You did a great job setting up the league and coordinating everything, and you guys did a great job on the podcast and made it really fun to follow every week. It helped that I had a good team too, so like it's a lot easier to follow when you're like top 2 the entire year. So it was good. It was fun.
No, I appreciate it. Glad you had fun with it. Honestly, it's been super fun. I would say I would rank it probably. I was pretty close to there, like 8 to 8.5. I think you're pretty spot on. The tanking definitely created a few issues. There's a few headaches that I'm excited to get fixed with some new rules in the off season so that we don't run into the same issues. There was a few things that I didn't think through going into the year. Honestly, it might 8 to 8.5 still. But there was a few things where I was like, oh, I really did not think through that. We're going to have to adjust that in the off season. A lot of learning curves, but the podcast has been super fun. Even if we only have 12 listeners, I mean, I don't know what it is, but I'm guessing we've got 3/4 of the league and Connor 04, and that's it. I think that's what we got. And but it's been so fun to do. Like it's been so entertaining to get on, talk about whatever we want, crap on whoever we want, boost whoever we want. I mean, it's been a blast. So I'm hoping next year we can get it into the 9s when we fix a few things. And I think it'll be really fun to see the league separated. I'm really excited to have people fighting to get promoted and people fighting to not be relegated. And I think that'll be fun. But yeah, I don't know. AP, what do you think?
I'd go 8.0. For the same reasons you guys said. I think some things need to be fixed. I had a blast doing the podcast. When I initially accepted and said I would do once a week on the podcast, I immediately regretted that decision, but I'm very glad I did it. So I was like, how am I going to get 2 hours a week on this stupid podcast? No one's going to listen. And no one's listening, and it's been a blast. So I think all in all,
AP, are you saying Jack and I saved your podcasting career?
Well, I didn't say any of those words at all, but that's the essence of what. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
We saved your career. Saved Connor's life. Tit for tat.
I would say at the end of the day, we are doctors.
Yeah.
I think Michael Scott says something like that, where it's like, I pay her salary.
Or the one
with Dwight.
With Dwight after he
entertained a man who entertained thousands.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Yeah.
That's what it is. That's good.
All right, Jack, what do you think?
I'm going to give it the lowest score out of all of us. I'm going to say a 7.4.
Wow.
I think. I know.
Try hard.
Terrible podcast. I think some of the issues that I had with it, just like everybody, and I also will say I probably have a bit of a bias going into it because, we are hosting the podcast every single week. We have expectations that we want to hit. Sometimes we don't hit those. I think it was a great first season, but I think because of the fact that it was a first season, it has to be a lower rating. I think we ran into some audio issues, especially with once we had to go virtual. We're still not super scripted out with how we want it to, be top tier production level. So a little bit of the audio bugs me just because I have a passion for it and I can hear it and it bugs me a little bit. I think we are going to go into next season with a little bit of space, for upping that grading, because I think we're going to be more consistent with posting the videos, on time every single week. We'll get better at editing. And then actually within the season, the things that bugged me have already kind of been stated, but the tanking really hurt me. I think we have to really solidify in this offseason how we're going to approach that next year. But tanking really killed me, and that was a part of it where I was like, if I was in a different league, I don't think I would have finished the same way I did. But because of the tanking and how it all played out and how matchups played out, I think it really hurt me. So that, again, a bias take, but that probably lowers my score a bit too.
Well, Jack, the thing that really hurt you was that awful Stephon Diggs trade. All right.
True. That is true. That one did kill me.
I think all three of us here, besides Jack, we all thought that trade was a steal. Like I
was pissed when it went through. I'm like,
which one was that? What was the full deal there?
It was Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs for a first rounder and $7.
Oh yeah.
And that was
at the end of the season.
That was just. Go for it.
Go ahead. You're good. Go ahead.
Okay. I was saying that came right after Tyler Lockett had just been traded for a first rounder, like straight up. Yeah. So it was like, I think part of it was timing of that. And there was just a few other deals where it's like Stephon Diggs was probably the best player who had been traded up to that point, and he got one of the lowest returns for it. It was like, wow, that's just seemed crazy to me.
Well, and you say that
for the entire duration of having him, I think he put up 1 week where he had like 18 points, and then in the other like 4 or 5 weeks or whatever it was remaining, I think he had like 4 points, 6 points, 4 points, 5 points, 4 points.
Yeah.
It was like, it was a crazy finish. I don't think anybody saw it coming. Even after I was done in the regular season, I would still start him in my lineup, and he put up like 5. And I was like, you gotta be kidding me. You are not proving your worth at all, even when it doesn't matter.
It's kind of crazy how many like top tier receivers down the stretch really didn't perform well. Maybe it's just because I had 2 of them on my team, or arguably even 3 of them on my team if you don't count Devontae going for 31 in the championship. But
you're welcome for that, Connor.
Yeah, Jamar Chase and especially AJ Brown. Like I was expecting a lot more out of AJ Brown because nothing really changed with that situation, and then he just didn't. He didn't play well at all down the stretch. So like between him, Chase, Devontae, Stephon Diggs, like they all had some bad weeks down the stretch where it was like it really hurt your team. So
yeah, I'll take partial responsibility for that because Jalen Hurts was the one throwing the pig and he wasn't doing anything for me, especially in like the last 2 weeks that were determining who would finish in the top 8. Hurts threw up his worst numbers of the season.
Yeah.
So the Eagles just kind of hit a rough patch when, definitely for me, when I needed them the most. But
Jack, when you read out the Diggs price, like again, at the time of that trade, I remember thinking like, I'm quitting the league. This is the dumbest trade ever. But
not dramatic at all.
No. Very, very reasoned and measured response. But it was now you read it and I'm like, oh, like what did that? Yep. Like I'd probably do the trade again if I were you, like with the process, but that price sucks. Like, it's just like, I don't know what happened in Buffalo, but it just didn't work out. Yeah.
He goose-egged hard. And I remember even right after the trade had gone through, everybody's like, well, at the very least, even if you don't finish in the top 8, you're going to have an elite lineup of keepers going into next season with Jalen Hurts, CeeDee Lamb, and Stephon Diggs. And now it's like, you're not keeping Diggs. Like, there's no way you're keeping Diggs. So it's like, well, okay, maybe we'll keep T. Higgins. I don't know. Like, we're in a tough spot now for keepers.
I mean, Higgins probably outscored Diggs down the stretch, didn't he?
He definitely did. Yeah, the last 2 weeks of the season that mattered for me. I think T. Higgins put up back-to-back 20 burgers.
Well, it did help that Jamar Chase got hurt and sat out for.
Yep.
And then basically didn't play in week 17 either. He was. I think in those last pretty much a decoy.
Yeah, in those last 2 weeks, T. Higgins had like 4 touchdowns, though, I think, on like maybe 8 catches, 9 catches. So it's tough to say, like, Higgins is the man now or whatever, even if he like goes to a different team. It's tough to base that on like less than 15 targets. But
Browning greater sign Burrow? Maybe.
These are the kind of spicy takes we need to take this podcast off, right?
Yeah, right.
Justin Jefferson, not a top 10 wide receiver.
So true.
You don't want to sound too much like Skip Bayless, though.
Dude, Tim Tebow, I don't know why he doesn't have a job right now. All right,
Skip gets views. We sell out.
We need more Skip Bayless quotes.
What was I totally had something really good to say and it just lost. It fluttered away.
I doubt it.
What was Diggs drafted for, Luke?
Like 53?
49. I'm pretty
49.
sure.
He'll be 53 to go.
53.
Yeah. Oh, I think we froze a little bit. Just a heads up to our listeners.
Diggs, right?
You probably can only hear me.
Okay, but I think Diggs is a good test case for like how the draft is going to go, because that is going to be a tough decision where it's like you have an underperforming stud receiver, but if he's one of the only stud receivers that doesn't get kept and he's still like getting ranked as like a top 10 receiver next year, like do you just give that up and then hope that you can get him for cheaper in the veteran draft, or do you just bite the bullet and spend 53 on him and then just that you got him, right? So I don't know how that's going to play out. I really don't, but I'm interested to see how it's going to play out.
I think that's actually a good segue though into the next segment for off-season review or analysis or whatever we titled it. I can't remember.
Off-season speculation. OSS, Spy Kid style, right?
OSS. We were going to talk about kind of who we think we're planning on keeping, like each of our teams, what our plans are going forward. Jack, who do you think you'll keep from your team right now?
I think it's going to be tough to totally solidify who I'm going to keep until like we're getting closer to the beginning of next season, because I think this offseason is going to dictate for a lot of my players if they change up teams. I have a lot of guys, I have a handful of guys on my team that are either on the end of their contract or are not in good spirits with their teams right now, so they could potentially land in, Kansas City. Some of them might go to, whatever, name any team. They could drop into a place where they're going to be more productive or projected to be more productive. So I think the only for sure keepers that I have right now are, I'm like 90% sure on Jalen Hurts, and I'm like 98% sure on CeeDee Lamb. Outside of that, I have to look at the rest of my team. I know that I had
Higgins
a couple
goes
guys.
To the Chiefs, you keep him?
So that's another thing that I got to speculate on, and I don't really have an answer yet. T. Higgins and Stephon Diggs both have an opportunity to maybe end up in Kansas City next year. If that's the case, is Diggs worth $53 in Kansas City? Is T. Higgins worth $34 in Kansas City? Those are probably some things that I have to kind of fight with over the offseason.
I'd say yes to both. Just again,
yes, absolutely.
I'm just saying, if you get Diggs with Patrick Mahomes, like that could be special.
Oh my Lord.
Yeah, it definitely could be. Another guy that I really liked this year that I don't know if I probably wouldn't have the funds to keep him, but James Conner, when he was healthy, was an absolute stud for me. I really, really enjoyed having him on my team. The only problem is I did buy him a little expensive. I think he was like $29. So he'd be a $34 player.
Yep.
The issue that I'm running into right now is I'm already running low on funds, but it would be nice to start the year with a running back.
Mm-hmm. I think he could be a good, you'll see in the offseason if they sign anybody else, draft somebody else, kind of what his value is. But he finished so strong. And some of the comments from the coaching staff right now seem like they love him. Like they don't expect to replace him. I think they were talking about it on the Fantasy Footballers today, actually.
Is he going to be 30 next year? 29? I'm just saying, I think that's probably not a bet you want to make of an aging running back and a still probably pretty mediocre offense.
29, but I don't know how many carries he's had. You know what I mean? He could be one of those guys
because he's been injured so much.
It's true. Still I mean, it's just less beating that his body's taken. You know what I mean? He might have some of those injuries, but he's not I was saying before they were talking about it on Fantasy Footballer, so this is pretty much pulled from their analysis, but he's not a speed guy. He a lot of his stuff is just kind of running into people and being stronger than people, and he's not, even if he loses some of that speed, he's still going to be a good player for what his style is.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
That's
I mean,
more
it
of a
depends
on
on-
the fence one.
Depends on
That's
where he's
definitely
ranked next year, though, because that'll determine what other people are willing to pay for him in the veteran draft.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it has a lot to do with like how the market sees it, and then you can let that determine. I just don't see him being ranked as like an RB2 next year going into the year unless he's like fully healthy. They have nobody there and the offense looks better. But I see him, I don't know, getting drafted as like the 35th overall running back next year or something like that.
That's probably true.
Yeah.
I don't know
Probably
that you want
closer
to
to true.
I don't know that you want to buy an RB3 or keep an RB3 for like $33 when you could probably spend that 33 elsewhere.
That's
For
probably
sure.
true. If you wanted him, you
And
could
then-
probably let him go to the draft, and if he exceeds 33, you probably didn't lose anything. Or if he's under that, you got him for a deal. So
he's like the perfect player for that because nobody really likes James Conner. Like he's not sexy. He's gonna be
a
like
cancer survivor, you douche.
Well, okay, great. But that doesn't mean that he can't be a shitty running back. And maybe it even
You can't say that.
Maybe it means that he's never mind. But yeah, like, and he like I said, he's the perfect guy for that because just he's not sexy at all. He's gonna be like Frank Gore eventually, where it's like, okay, I could get however many carries and however many touchdowns basically guaranteed from Frank Gore. He was never sexy, but he got the job done. So he's like that kind of guy in my view. Or at least he's getting there.
The last guy on my team that I plan on keeping, and this might be the most fun one. I'm planning on keeping Baker Mayfield for $5.
Really? I like it.
Is
it's fine.
Nice.
I love Baker. I've been praising him all season, despite the haters, aka Andrew Peterson.
Well, you never had the stones to start him, Jack. So your love was safe.
There's a comma, not a period, Andy. There's a comma. I just want to say that I have full faith, especially after the season, in my boy Baker. If you look at his projections throughout the season and the points that he put up, just looking at his stats, came in as ranked 10, 3,900 passing yards, 28 passing touchdowns, 10 interceptions, 156 rushing, and a rushing touchdown. I don't think anybody expected that out of Baker, and I don't see Tampa Bay changing the route of quarterback for next year because he looked great. So having him as a backup quarterback for $5, I would put it in the same category as like I'm trying to think of somebody like he's not quite Kirk Cousins, he's probably not quite Dak, but he's like maybe a tier below that, and that's like top tier backup quarterback then.
I think it's fine. I think Tampa Bay likes him. The only thing that would make me pause there is I don't think Mike Evans is going to be there next year. So if Mike Evans isn't there next year, then you just don't know what you're really going to get. But I do like Baker, and I think that Tampa likes him too. So
they're going to sign Diggs or Higgins, and Jack's going to have that QB that stack.
Why not both? They're going to
Baker stack.
Hey, no, those ghosts. Jack's just starting the entire Tampa offense.
That'd be a sick double stack.
Oh, that's what I tried to go in this year, starting the entire Arizona Cardinals offense, and that's why I finished 9th.
That was
bold strategy, Cotton.
Yeah.
It was looking pretty good after the first 4 weeks, and then it went downhill.
That's like Freebie saying that his Mike Tolbert pick looked good after a week. And then it started to go downhill. It's like, yeah, we all knew that was going to happen, dude. Like, what did you expect?
I did that a couple times this year, and with Jonnu Smith. Oh, I had high hopes for that kid.
You
Not
had
so
fun
much.
with him for a while, though. You were loving Jonnu Smith.
Which is, I think, more than you could have like asked like, initially thought you'd get out of Pitts. So,
you got
true.
more out of
Definitely
Johnny Smith
true.
than I got out of Kyle Pitts. So that's what's crazy.
Yeah. Shout out Janu. He made the season fun. All right, those are the guys that I'm planning on potentially keeping. Let's move on to Luke. Luke, what are you thinking?
Okay. So I've marked already in. I shared the spreadsheet with you guys in the show doc, by the way, with all of our roster. It's all updated, so it's everybody's teams with what they were drafted for and all that. I've highlighted who I'm looking at keeping so far. I've got some young talent that I like. I got Sam Laporta, Devon Achane, Tank Dell. Those are Rashee Rice. Those are my studs. Those are all solid keepers. Every single one of them will be under $10 next year, except for Achane actually.
When Rice really came on, like I did not think he would be as good as he was to close the season.
Yeah. So, and right now I need to double check. But Achane, I have him drafted at $7. For some reason, I thought it was 10, so I'll have to go check that. But he'd be $11 next year, so he'd actually be the only guy who wouldn't be in the single digits. But I also have a few other guys like Ty Chandler. He could be worth a keeper, drafted for $2. I have two QBs, Kyler Murray and Tua, that could be decent keepers. They're both.
Well, you could have sold Kyler for a first-round pick. I mean, I don't know.
Why? When did that happen?
Well, you leveraged him against my trade with Bekanzi by saying you'd trade him for a first to lower my asking price.
Hey, I thought you'd forget about that. I did.
I never forget.
Andy never forgets.
No. So I like those keepers. Like right off the bat, right now I have all of those guys kept for $62, which is pretty nice. I think after my draft picks and those keepers, I'll have like 12 of my roster spots filled already going into next season. And that'll leave me $167 to fill the last 8 spots on my team. So I'm not too upset with them. It'll be a fun start, at least.
Definitely. Just a heads up, guys. We did cut out a little bit there, but we caught the gist of it.
Yeah,
it just was. It was breaking up just a little bit.
So, did you guys hear that? AP?
No, I heard all of it. Yeah,
I got it.
It's just you, Jack. I think you're getting a little spotty there.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, but I don't know. That's kind of what I'm looking at. I don't think there's any controversial picks for me. The only guy I've left off so far is I'm not sure what to think of Zach Charbonnet. I think I'll keep him. He'll be $15 next year, and he's going to be a guy that kind of we'll see what the offseason has to hold. I don't know what you guys think on him, what your vibes are for Sharp.
I mean, it's just Kenneth Walker. He put together a pretty good season. Every time I watch a Seahawks game, I'm like pretty impressed by Kenneth Walker. Like he runs the ball pretty well. So, I mean, as long as that's a 2-person backfield, and I don't know what the contract situation looks like for Kenneth, but I think it completely depends on that. But I mean, I don't think you want to keep in an RB2 in a mediocre offense who gets like 8 touches a game for $15. So, but it depends a lot on the offseason for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I lean no right now, Luke, but that could definitely change.
Right. If there's an injury in preseason or something like that before, like if he's the guy in Seattle, he's definitely worth 15. Like there's no doubt about that. But so much on that one lies in waiting.
When is the veteran draft then? Like what does the timing look like in terms of when you have to make your decisions by?
So we're gonna have to talk about that. And right now, the veteran draft is scheduled to be they're both scheduled to be just before the season starts next year.
Okay.
So it would be pretty far into preseason. We'd be at least a few weeks in.
Okay.
But I
that makes sense.
think we may want to adjust it, and it's something I want to talk about when we get all the teams together on a Zoom call. And I think we should probably flip the way we currently have the draft set. I think we should do the rookie draft right around when the NFL draft is, kind of like what most dynasty drafts do. You don't have as much information to go off of, but just for a time of year and for people's interest in listening and different stuff like that, I think it'll make more sense to move that forward. And then
I was going to suggest that.
Yeah, and then we'll do the veteran draft, just like when anybody else does their redraft.
Yep. So I think that makes sense.
And that's when you'll have to determine your keepers is during the veteran draft. So.
Well, that's what I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure if we were going to do like the rookie draft and the veteran draft like back to back, like on the same day or something like that. Because then I was like, okay, if we're doing it that early in the season, we're not going to have the entire summer mini camps, training camps, like all these position battles. We're not going to have that information to go off of in terms of like when you have to click, yes, I'm keeping this guy or not. But I think the timing on that all makes sense. Doing the rookie draft early and then doing the veteran draft late.
Yeah. And I mean, just on that same note, this is kind of off topic. What are your guys' thoughts on next year? Currently, you're not required to fill your roster at the draft. Do you think that's something we should talk about and change, where you have to fill your roster just like a typical redraft where will have the max bid, and so basically you got to leave $1 for at least every spot on your team? Or should it be kind of, we can just crazy spend on the stars and leave some spots open where we can use the waiver wire to fill the rest of it? What's your thought?
Initially my thought was, I mean, it's people's money. This is kind of a hands-off league in many ways. Why not? But the more I think about it, I kind of like that restriction of at least $1 having to go to, filling out your roster spot. I don't want, if someone wants to take the risk and make that their approach, a part of me is like, fine, do it. I don't think it's going to work because the waiver wire is so thin in this league. But so long story short,
it'd be less than if everybody did that, though. If everybody went for just the studs and way crazy overpaid for the top guys, and they're like, screw it, we'll just put some middling guys on the waiver wire that we would have bid $1 on. That might not change things, or that might open up the waiver wire.
I think maybe
I lean. I'm fine with it. So
I think I'm fine with it either way. I think you would bare minimum probably have to make sure that people have a starting roster, right? So make sure that you draft at least a starting roster, and then going in, like if you
tanking starts at the draft, boys. All right.
Yeah. But I would be fine with it either way. I think it would be a fine strategy though, and if they do open it up to that, that would probably be my strategy. Would be to spend more, and not fill out my entire, roster on the bench, because half the guys on my bench right now are either out or on injured reserve, or literally project for 0 points and are only playing special teams at this point or something like that. So, I'm going to be filling my team with guys like that anyway.
Would you guys be open to reducing the size of our rosters by a spot?
By one spot? I mean, sure.
I'm just saying, to make the waiver wire a little bit more.
I don't know if that would improve who's on the waiver wire, though.
You're probably right.
I think you would have to cut. With a 16-team league to get anybody valuable, at least 4 spots, and then you're. I think so. You're okay. Cut the 4 worst guys from your roster right now.
I'm a relegated team. All right, okay. That doesn't count.
Go to Connor's team and cut his 4 worst guys.
Yeah, I guess
those players that you're going to start.
Yeah, no, you're probably right.
All that it does is kind of limit some of the keepers that you can hold on to for the next year, and some of your future roster building. Like when Austin had all those injuries middle of the season, he probably wouldn't have been able to keep all those guys because he had literally 8 or 9 guys out. And so all it would have done was hurt his future without really letting him build anything. I don't mind holding 20 guys. I also, I wouldn't be adamantly opposed. Like if everybody in the league's like, no, we got to go down to 19. Okay, that's not that big a deal, but I would rather stay at 20.
I think the
personally.
one thing
I'm with
I
you.
think the one thing it would prevent maybe that I wasn't super like a huge fan of was like this weird infatuation with some members of the league and maybe even some on this podcast hoarding quarterbacks for no reason.
You mean someone like Luke Yeager?
Yeah.
No,
Yeager or whatever his name is.
no reason. Hold on. How is there no reason?
Well, it was completely. I just thought it was. I was like, why are people paying for these like backup quarterbacks when they already have 2 or 3 of them, and then it makes it so that somebody has an actual injury that needs a quarterback, and there's
Trade
literally
value.
like Joe Flacco's not even available. It's like, okay, come on. So I think that it would maybe tone that down a little bit because we just had such a surplus in bench spots that it was like, okay, yeah, I'll throw anybody on my bench at this point.
That one was actually a little bit more strategic than, I mean, for me, a quarterback just made more sense than a 3rd or 4th string running back because he held trade value. What we may want to change to fix that in the offseason would be changing what your waiver wire, like your one waiver wire a year addition is, like the cost of it. Because then maybe you keep a 3rd or 4th string running back who maybe finds his way into a good spot next year, and keeping him for $5 would be better than holding on to Aiden O'Connell. You know what I mean? Like that.
Yeah, I don't know. That was just like a small thing. And if we took out, like if we reduced the bench spots from 12 to 10, maybe that, cuts down on some of that where it's not like, I get that there's a somewhat of a strategy behind like picking guys up on the waiver wire that other teams might need in the future. But I think it maybe got a little bit out of hand. It was like, didn't you have like 6 quarterbacks on your team at one point that were all like somewhat close to starting, or maybe it's 5?
I think at most it was probably 5, but that was also, I think it was only 4 who could play because I had Kyler who wasn't, he was still on IR at that point.
No, yeah. Small,
still a lot.
That's just something small that I mean, it's just something small that I noticed, and I was just like, it's kind of dumb, but whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think there's really a way to fix it.
Let's reel it back in.
Good call.
Let's get on. Let's go over to AP. AP, talk about your offseason speculations and who you're probably planning on keeping going into next year. And then we'll go into Connor, and then we'll probably have to wrap up the show because we're getting a little long already.
Yeah, sounds
so
perfect.
We also had teams set up to set up the best going into the offseason and teams set up the worst going into the offseason. We will talk about that next episode, starting with our own teams, and then we'll talk about everybody else. But back to you, AP. Who are some of the guys on your roster that you're planning on holding on to?
I mean, I don't think there's too much up in the air. I'll be hanging on to David Montgomery for 21, Jordan Addison for 12. Will be 16. And I don't know if that's right in the Google Doc, Luke.
What's that?
I mean, Addison, didn't you draft him for $10, Connor?
I don't even think I didn't draft Addison. That was his Lumberjacks. I got him in the trade.
Let me take a look at our draft. So I did add it from the history from Yahoo Sports, but there's a chance that that may have been put in.
I don't know. Most of those have been right.
Yeah.
Either way, I'll be keeping Addison. And then the only people I'm on the fence about, I mean, there's not really a whole lot to choose from. I might keep, I mean, I don't know, like Roshan or Trey Palmer, depending on. I mean, Trey Palmer's had some interesting games, especially as a 5th round rookie, but I probably will not keep either. So it'll probably just be Montgomery and Addison.
By the way, I checked it to our draft board. Addison was drafted for 12 and Achane was drafted for 7. So both those were right. I think everything in the maybe it's just double check, but it should be right.
It's just not showing up in the salary for future years. So I think it's showing up like he was maybe a waiver wire. It's fine.
Oh, gotcha. That could be one of the issues.
Also, my team name was the Acorn Assassins, and I don't appreciate that. So I I fixed the name. It's the Assassins.
I appreciate
The
you.
Assassins. Yes, thank you very much.
Appreciate you fixing that.
Assassins.
But yeah, I think it's really just going to be Montgomery, Addison for whatever that's combined, maybe about 40, a little less than that. And we'll go from there.
Sweet.
But Jack thinks Montgomery is a terrible keep because, he's an RB4 next year with Gibbs increasing role, Jack?
Yeah, it's fun to kind of look at, since like week 11 when you started tanking, you're telling everybody, he's a top 3 running back in the league. And then you look at it and he goes,
said that.
12, 10, 9, 13, 12. Yeah, that's pretty good, Andy. I guess middle of the road, you're only paying $21. It's probably a good buy.
Oh, would have helped your team this year, Jack. I mean, it might have helped you not get relegated, but whatever. It's fine.
Says the relegated.
Yeah.
We're all relegated. Minus
Idiot.
you, obviously.
You sound so dumb right now. It's like the two poor kids fighting.
Oh my
You're
gosh.
so
Said the
poor.
liar.
You're so poor.
Which side do you agree with, Connor?
Jack.
That he's not worth.
I think there's a lot of uncertainty. Because I don't necessarily think he's not worth a keep because he got drafted for 17, so he'll go in at like $21 next year. But I could totally see a situation where he gets phased out a little bit. He's a little bit older. I know that they like him. He'll probably still get goal line carries and stuff, but I could totally see that role. I think there's just a lot of uncertainty with it, and I wouldn't be confident keeping him at all. Like, no way. At least not at the perceived, like, oh, he's going to be another RB1 next year. Like, no way.
No, I think it's really just like, I think he's probably a mid-tier RB2 with upside but think about if Gibbs goes out, like he is an RB1 then.
Yeah,
and like,
I think it's more likely if Montgomery goes out, though.
For sure. You're right. There's a lot of uncertainty.
I agree with you, AP, that he's worth the keep, but I agree with Jack from previous episodes where the reason he wasn't worth the trade is because what they would have had to give up plus his keeper value probably isn't worth it. You holding on to him is totally worth it. And I get like it was there was going to be no perfect middle ground because you needed to get a certain amount for it to be worth taking that trade versus keeping him, but everybody else didn't want to give that up and keep him. So it was a tough spot.
Mm-hmm.
It's fine. Yeah. I really think my proposal is for spreading the money out over a couple of years. I thought some people would bite on those.
I like that. I like it.
But no one did. So I really wish I think Bakanzi wanted, it was like $20 total, but he wanted protections where it's only if he was top 4. And I'm like, no, I'm not betting on you're making top 4. All right.
I kind of like that. I respect that.
Yeah. He should have done top 8. I mean, that seems fair enough.
Yeah, that would have been more fair.
It was.
I don't think he would have cracked the top 8 even with Montgomery to finish out the season. I don't think he was putting up enough points.
Well, that's Bakanzi's point.
Yeah,
well,
I know. Yeah,
I'm
saying it would have worked out in his favor. Like if he would have traded for with that exemption or whatever.
No, so
he still would have had to give it up the next year though. So he would have had to guarantee his 2025 or whatever.
He wanted to do,
but just less dollars.
$10 this year, and if I get top 4, I will give you $5 more. And I was like, yeah, no, that's not enough. And then he upped it to 10 this year and 10 next year if he's top 4 next year.
Oh, wow.
That's
like,
tough.
You're on the line of being relegated. I'm not going to make that bet.
I'm glad I'm not the commissioner in a league where deals like that can go down.
It's so fun. It's so fun. I love all that stuff. Let's go to you, Connor, and then we'll wrap up the show. But who are you thinking about taking into next year with your $163?
Yeah, so I'm for sure going to do Lamar and AJ Brown, which gets me to 73, I think, right? And then probably add on, I think I got Jerome Ford for $2 according to this.
Good Lord.
Sounds right. Yeah. So I'll keep him for $6. I don't know what
you're still at $84 left after those.
Yep. So what I was going to say is I don't know what the situation for Jerome Ford is even going to be next year, though. Like, Chubb got injured, like, the first 2 weeks of the year or something like that, first week of the season. So it's like, I mean, that dude's a freak of nature. So I could see him being back, and then Jerome Ford is just a backup. But even then, like, I would still probably pay $6 for Jerome Ford as a backup because he played pretty well this year, and they're going to, probably keep him involved. So I'll keep him.
If nothing else, for the championship memories, Connor. All right.
Yeah, for
you
sure.
You can give Jerome Ford that much, all right?
Just out of pure respect. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I wouldn't be playing in the championship if it weren't for him. So I freaking love Jerome Ford. And then from there, it'll just it'll probably just be between whether I'll have to see what the offseason does with like Devontae and who their quarterback is next year and that kind of thing, because I can keep him for $10 less than I can keep Jamar Chase. So I'll probably end up I can't keep both of them. So it's probably just going to come down to which one of those I feel more comfortable with.
Well, Devontae, there was that rumor that he might be going to the Jets.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw that. I don't know that I would love that, to be honest. I think I'd probably, assuming we get a clean bill of health from Joe Burrow and T. Higgins is leaving. I mean, I think at that point, Jamar Chase is probably a no-brainer rather than, you just never know when a wide receiver goes to a new team. No matter who the quarterback is, you're just not sure, especially if they're sharing targets with Garrett Wilson.
Yeah, I don't feel like I see a situation where Adams is going to be a better value than Chase. I feel like with what you have left, that $10 is worth it to start off with. To start off with Lamar, AJ Brown, and Jamar Chase, for sure being great. I mean, we'll see what happens with Ford, but for sure those three guys. That would leave you with $89 to spend in your veteran draft. You can fill that with another running back or two, and I mean that's a great start. For sure. That almost it feels like it guarantees you a spot staying up in the championship league.
Yeah, and I forget that this is like a 16-team
100% guarantee, right, guys?
100% guarantee.
Hold on now.
A non-relegation guarantee. Put it in the book in pen, right?
Hey, you guys tried that last week and it didn't work. So
I know.
Hearts weren't in it.
No, but they are now.
Yeah. There's no
ulterior motive to manifest this.
Yeah, yes. Something flipped. Like your passion got even more passionate.
Exactly.
Okay. So, I'll do that. And then, I don't know, Gabe Davis, probably not. Tutu, if Cup retires. Because Tutu actually looked pretty good last year when he was this season when Cup was out. So, those are really the only two that I can even think of. I think all the other ones are just trash. Like Tyler Conklin.
Deshaun Watson for 11?
Marshall Jr. Yeah. Oh, my goodness.
Would you not keep Watson for 11? He might still be. I mean,
it's no way.
It depends what inflation on quarterbacks is going to be.
I'd rather take someone under that than bet on Watson.
I got to give it to Jack. Jack was banging the drum of how bad he was all year, and I was just holding out hope. Early.
His Baker Mayfield takes really discredited that, so I feel like he comes out even. Right?
I think Baker Mayfield takes not even that bad.
Oh my god,
terrible. He's Baker, all right. You guys are just
over Deshaun.
You're letting him pull the wool over
any day
for sure.
Just keep digging that hole, Andy. Keep digging that hole. I'll get you a new shovel when yours breaks. It's so fun.
I like the squad going into next year. It's actually better than I thought it was going to be. I was kind of worried when I was trading those auction dollars early in the year. I was like, am I just going to hamstring myself here if some of these receivers don't work out and stuff? But I don't know. I think I got a good enough value on AJ Brown where it's probably going to cancel itself out.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
You guys ready to wrap this up?
All right.
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it. All right, so that was our offseason speculations. We'll definitely, like we said, we'll get into that more come next episode. But with that being said, we are Relegation Fantasy Football on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. You can find us on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube at the Relegation League. We're also on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Relegation FFL. Fantasy League Home is linked in the show description. We're on Yahoo Sports, Send us some questions on Twitter and TikTok. We'd love to answer some questions for you guys, especially going into the off season. We're going to have a little bit more time on our hands. We'd love to talk to you guys. If you have any questions about your fantasy leagues, or if you anyway on starting your own relegation fantasy league, we'd love to hear that from you guys and give you guys some pointers, tips. But as always, follow and subscribe for more content. We post every Tuesday and Thursday. Going into the off season will be every Thursday for now. We'll see you later.
Wait, Jack. I feel like we've got to let Connor sign us off as the champion.
Oh, true.
Good call.
That is so true. That is so true. All right, rewind. Make sure to follow and subscribe for more details. Connor, is there anything you'd like to say?
Thanks for having me on. And see you later, relegators.
Oh, baby. Nice job.
Nice.
Killed it.
I liked it.